wants hash browns. Okay, you get the first batch.
Hash browns coming up. Ding, 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 ding.
Welcome to the Not How I Remember It podcast, the podcast where we reread books from our childhoods and discuss. I'm Mandy. I'm joined with my co-host,
Jenny. Hi.
This week we're discussing the classic coming of age, The Outsiders, by S.E. Hinton, which, interestingly enough, stands for Susan Eloise Hinton, a fact that shocked my husband that it was written by a woman.
Yes.
And probably shocked me at one point, too.
At one point, yeah.
But I think this is probably a publishing trick that many people have done. I mean, you think of like J.K. Rowling, right, with Harry Potter and other authors that probably maybe leads a little bit more credibility, sadly, to their writing.
It does, and that's very interesting because this book was published in 1967, and then J.K. Rowling published in the 90s, and she still thought, I better do initials.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. Also, did you read that? And I'm certain I did not know this at the time. Well, maybe I did. Who knows what I remember. I remember this book very differently, which we will discuss later. But that she was 15 when she started writing this book.
I know.
Wrote most of it when she was 16 and was published when she was 18 years old, which was just like
freshman,
mind-boggling to me.
Right. I know that was I can't even speak. I'm so mind-boggled right now still about it. But yeah, that's crazy that she was, just a little teenager.
Right. And
she wrote this awesome book.
Yeah, really significant book.
Significant,
for decades,
Better word than awesome, but yeah.
My 15-year-old has 3 missing assignments in English, so I don't think I'm going to go to a big publishing party when he's 18. I don't think. Maybe. I could be wrong.
You never know. Yeah.
So do you want to give us a little summary of The Outsiders in case someone hasn't read it?
My book, again, has somebody's name on it.
Ooh.
This time it is Tyler Borders.
Tyler Borders.
So we have Chris Lind from last time and Tyler Borders this time who win the prize. Okay, so on the back it says, a heroic story of friendship and belonging. Ponyboy can count on his brothers and his friends, but not on much else besides trouble with this. Now, okay, I'm sorry, but when I first read this, and all the time, I pronounced it socks, but I think it's socias. So I keep wanting to say socks. That's not right. But I know that I'm going to break into that because that's what my brain thinks it is. Okay, let's rewind. But not on much else besides trouble with the socias, a vicious gang of rich kids whose idea of a good time is beating up greasers like Ponyboy. At least he knows what to expect. Until the night someone takes things too far.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Yeah, it's a nice little understated summary of the book.
So this is so funny. I certainly read this book in school, watched the movie a lot, which we can talk about later as well. But I was reading the book and I thought, what? No, I don't remember this part. This is not how it goes. And so I had remembered this book like a completely different story. I remembered it being this romance between the well-to-do girl and the greaser Ponyboy, and that there was, that people were up in arms about this, so that's why there was this big rumble, and that someone brought a switchblade to this rumble that wasn't supposed to have weapons, and he accidentally killed Ponyboy. And then I read it, and I was like, none of those things happened. Except, Dally did bring a switchblade to a fight that wasn't supposed to have weapons, but he just happened to have it. But I was like, he didn't even really date the girl, Cherry. They just talked at a movie and were walking home. I was like, Ponyboy, spoiler alert, folks, Ponyboy doesn't die.
No, he does not.
And he wasn't accidentally shivved by his friend. So I apparently was sort of caught up in the boy from the other side of the tracks romance.
Yeah.
That I have completely changed it. So this book was absolutely not how I remember it.
Maybe in your mind you were like thinking of the movie and you were thinking of Ralph Macchio and Elizabeth Shue and the Karate Kid. Although nobody died there either.
Maybe I did merge those. Maybe I did merge those. Yeah. I mean, I forgot all about there was, there was a murder of one of the Socs.
Right.
That they were like hiding out in a church because they thought they were going to get charged with murder, obviously. That they saved kids from a burning building. Like, how did I not remember any of those significant aspects?
Right. You glossed over those. They were minor details.
I was just like, this girl fell in love with a boy on the other side of the tracks. You're right. It may have been Karate Kid. Maybe that's why I'm enjoying Cobra Kai so much.
This is sort of embarrassing to say, but I don't actually remember reading it as a teenager or as a young kid. I don't know if it's because I don't know if I've blocked it out or thinking that, because everyone really loved the book and I knew that it had fights in it. And I know that I read it, but I honestly don't remember that much of it. I remember seeing The Outsiders poster and being in love with C. Thomas Howell.
C. Thomas Howell.
But I honestly don't really remember the book, so it was fun to read it again. But it was tough, too, because it's such a beloved book. And as someone said, it's like the Holy Grail. And then, I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's really a good book. But it was kind of, I felt like it was my English patient from Elaine. No, I liked it more than she liked The English Patient. But I wasn't like, this book changed my life. I thought it was fantastic, and the insight that the author had at that age was really great. But you know what kept taking me out of the story is that his name was Ponyboy.
Yeah.
It drove me crazy. Like, why is that his name? What were his parents thinking?
Right.
What is happening? Why do people call him that? I mean, it's his name, but it kind of, I kept getting taken out of the story by my stupid brain going, that's ridiculous.
Right.
And Soda Pop didn't annoy me
as much.
No, not in any way. But Ponyboy, I know it's like sacrilegious to criticize this book, but I'm like, what? And also that the line, stay golden, Ponyboy. That's a movie line. That's not
right.
A book line, which I was thankful of.
Yeah. I'm going to fully admit here, if anyone has a yearbook that I signed the year I read this book in school, I assure you that it probably said, stay gold, Ponyboy. Which is another reason why I thought Ponyboy died, because I thought it was a Ponyboy quote, stay gold, Ponyboy, instead of, it was said to him, stay gold, Ponyboy.
Right.
So, I am sure that some of my friends have, well, pretty much any yearbook I signed. Yeah. I wrote Stay Gold. And I did memorize that poem at one point. This is how, about the outsiders I was.
It was a nice poem.
Yes. I don't have it memorized any longer. But, yeah, so if anyone that I went to high school with is listening.
Yeah, if you could take a picture of her.
Go ahead and scroll through your yearbook.
Yeah.
And you will find, I'm sure, my Stay Gold, because I was so original.
Yes. Well, that's so interesting. And I feel like I kind of missed out not reading it, or I did read it, but I don't think but not remembering it or being, I don't know what my problem was.
I'll say this. I remember enjoying reading it in school. And when I read it this time, it felt more like it was an English class assignment. I was like, I got to get through this. And I kept putting it down. It's not a long book. What's it, again, like 180 pages or something? It should be one I could have just sat down and read. But I just kept being like, okay, all right. So I think that's funny to me too, that I remember thinking so highly of it when I was in high school when I read it. And now I'm like, yeah, it's okay. like grab my attention. But
Yeah.
I know it's still read all the time now because my own son read it in 7th grade.
So did my daughter.
Oh, okay. And so then they still had like this whole like Outsiders Day at school where you could dress up like the characters.
That's really fun. We didn't do that.
Switchblades were probably frowned upon, but then they all took a field trip to the movie theater to go watch the movie at the movie theater. So kind of fun.
That is so,
right?
so fun.
And then at the end of the day, there was a rumble. No, I'm kidding.
And it was banned. The book was banned, just like some states threatened to do.
Oh, gosh. So I did think it was interesting that when I was reading a little bit more about the author, that she said that she wrote this book because when she was 15, she said all the books were like perfect or cute or immature. They weren't really dealing with the issues she was dealing with. Mm-hmm. And so that's why she decided to write it. But I think that was another reason why I had trouble with it, because I was like, I have a 15-year-old. Like, I'm worried about, like, you have missing assignments. Today you have track practice. Don't forget it's smoothie day in the cafeteria. Don't forget to pick up your smoothie. And I thought, but in all fairness, you watch the news and there are lots and lots of teens who are dealing with serious adult issues of gangs or, family loss and things like that she was discussing in this, that sort of desire to belong, to be a part of a group, that the gang was your family, or is your family. And so I know that there are a lot of people that those are the realities that they're dealing with. Maybe not my own child at this point. But I did a couple times I was like, he's only 14. What is he doing?
Right. He's very, very street smart. Those kids were. Well, because they had to be,
right,
I guess.
Right.
And I like that the author really zeroed in on some of the feelings of even kids today, like, okay, so you're a greaser, you have to act like this, and you're a soc, and you have to act like this because you're rich. And then is it Sherry or Cherry?
I think it was Cherry. Yeah.
I'm not doing this book its justice, but she even said, my friends are too cool to feel anything.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of my daughter's friends, like, just go with the crowd because that's the cool crowd.
Right.
And, not really worry about anybody else's feelings. And it totally resonates today.
Sure.
I mean, and I like when she said things are rough all over. So, if you can get past the stereotypes of people, but I mean, obviously nobody's ever going to do that because it's just a timeless generation after generation, teenager after teenager. It's like the exact same thing. And it seems like there's no stopping it ever.
Yeah.
Frustrating, but always true,
I know when she wrote it, it was realistic fiction, right? But now it reads more like historical fiction just because of the clothes and some of the vernacular they use, right? But
hair. Yeah.
But you're right. It's the same story of wanting to belong or like doing things that like that just doesn't make any sense. They kept having these fights, and I forget whose name was, maybe Randy.
Yeah.
Pulled Ponyboy aside, and he's like, "Why are we doing this? No matter who wins, the other side isn't going to give up. We're going to continue to do this." And it's like, yes, how do you break that sort of cycle of everyone like putting on this persona of who they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be, and sort of whether it's physically fighting like it was in this book, or just being like mean to each other, cyberbullying as we see all the time now. It is sort of that universal story that even though they're wearing different clothes and had different hairstyles, that kids can relate to. And I do think it sort of opened up a new genre of books for kids to be like, they can handle some heavier issues because they deal with some heavier issues,
Their whole lives are regular issues. And I think that, one-on-one, a lot of times, like at school, in a class or something, you kind of can break through the facade of the person. But it's when you get in the groups that the trouble follows.
Right.
She even said, I have an interview with her at the back of my book, and she alluded to the fact that there weren't many books for boys then, and she hoped that, boys would read this and take it with them as some lessons and just maybe develop a love for reading.
Yeah.
So kudos to her for seeing that was missing, as a contemporary of the people she was aiming for.
Right, absolutely. Another thing that I certainly didn't remember or glossed over is the amount of loss that Ponyboy has suffered, right? Lost his parents, right? His
yes.
brother had to give up his dream of going to college to sort of raise him and take care of him.
Yeah.
He's lost friends,
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, oh my goodness, the significant amount of loss for him to even get through the day. I just wanted to give him a hug. Well, maybe not a COVID times hug.
No. A pre-COVID times hug.
Give him a hug and get him some therapy, because I just was like, how can anyone process that much loss and not just be angry with the world?
Right. But he didn't seem, extremely angry. He still, had a fairly decent attitude and made good grades and was on the track team and just kind of kept going forward. And, his brother, unfortunately, kind of like in Party of Five, had to act as the parent there. But as much as they kind of butted heads, in the end, it kind of was resolved. But his brother, Derry, was a pretty good influence on him to keep him straight.
Right.
And the family could have absolutely fallen apart. I was kind of thinking it was remarkable how they kind of stayed in their unit and stuck together, and everyone kind of did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting to me because I was like, oh, DCFS would have been all over this, right? If it was now.
Yeah.
And take these kids away from, put them in homes or put them wherever. Mm-hmm. But it was almost like it was healing for them to be together. I also thought it was interesting, that sort of breakthrough he had with his brother, right? He thought his brother couldn't stand him, didn't like him. Yeah. He was always so hard on him. And they finally sort of had that breakthrough of his brother just wanting so much for him, like having such high hopes for him. And I thought, how many kids have felt that about their own, parents, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, why are you on me so hard? Why are, and it's just that hard part of being a parent, and Derry became this parent of him, after the parents died, to, just want him to succeed and do well and do everything you can to push him in that way so that you don't end up, like Derry was ending up working at the gas station, or maybe it was Soda Pop working at the gas station.
Pop, yeah.
Derry was a roofer, right?
Roofer, yeah.
I certainly wouldn't have picked up on that when I read it in high school. But as a parent, I was like, cut Derry some slack. He's just wanting you to do your best, and he wants you to succeed and maybe, get out of this cycle that so many of their friends were in.
Right, like get that scholarship and go to college and move forward and, like you said, break out. I liked Derry's character, and I was thinking, I kind of wanted to say, well, he's being so hard on you because he's taken that role of the parent when you have no parents. And so when Randy and Ponyboy talked to each other in the car that time, Randy had said that his parents, they didn't really reprimand him or discipline him at all. And that's basically all he wanted, was to push the limits and have them kind of say, no, we don't do that. You've stepped too far. But anytime he did something, they felt like they failed him. And that's, kind of, I guess, trying to be a friend to your child instead of a parent to your child. Yeah,
absolutely. I forgot about that part. Yeah. That he was saying that's all he wanted was his parents to give him some structure, to give him some, discipline, to say, no, this is not okay. And that's one of the reasons why he, was the way he was. I also liked that when Cherry talked about him, Bob, this was the Soch who was killed during that little 2-on-2 fight at the fountain. She was saying that he, he was really good. He wasn't always good, right? If he drank, or he could be a jerk, but he was really fun and he was really nice. And I thought, sometimes books just write these characters are just one way or the other, right? They're very sort of one-dimensional. And I like that she brought that up, because it would have been really easy to be like, oh, the Sochas, they're jerks, whatever, Yeah. But she brought that in to sort of be like, no, you know what? Even jerks have some redeeming qualities as well, right? And and maybe there's some reasons why they're acting out the way they are. So I thought that was a good commentary too for kids to read. Although be honest, I didn't pick up on it when I was a kid and I read that, but I did this time.
This time. Yeah, no, I liked that as well. And until she broke down, some of the socialist characters like Randy and then Sherry talking about Bob, I was like, oh, the rich kids, and I was kind of against them as well. And currently, and then I was like, okay, yeah, no, everybody has it tough. Everybody has their own issues. And I liked how she didn't, like you said, make all the characters one-dimensional. All of them, like Dally and Johnny, coming from just a terrible broken home.
Oh my gosh.
Where his parents were just, it's the one time I was thinking, you're just better off on your own.
Right?
They're just every kind of abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive, just really, really awful. And yet he had a little bit of softness to him. And, you kind of think, well, maybe he can blossom into something with these friends that he's got.
Right.
Because he can see you can depend on people in the world. And then he was a hero. And then, well, spoiler alert, he doesn't
wasn't.
make it. So,
he did not stay gold.
No, he did not.
I liked it. I liked reading it again, even though it was challenging to get through again. I enjoyed reading it because I obviously didn't remember it the same way. And I really enjoy doing this because my perspective is so different when I read these books again. That even if I do remember them accurately, I have just such a different perspective, right? With now that I've added, additional 30 years on since I've read some of these, maybe more than 30 in some cases. And as a parent myself, right, I read these so much differently than I did as a kid. So I just love doing this so much, even when I don't love the books, or like in this case, I didn't walk away from this one going, oh my gosh, I can't wait to read it again.
I know.
Which I know I did when I was in high school.
It's such a book that is read worldwide, and I sort of felt like I failed the book because I'm not like, oh my gosh, everybody just read this book. I feel like I'm like, I felt disappointed in myself a little bit because I was sort of like, yeah, I really liked it. It was good. It's a good book for people to read, but it wouldn't make a top 10 list. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to make so many people mad. Like on My Favorite Murder podcast, they were talking about it the other day.
Oh, really?
How Karen, I think they were talking about the movie and she just like loved it. It was her go-to. And I was just, thinking, oh, yeah, okay, it's really good. Right. But
yeah, it's not one that I would be like, you have to go reread The Outsiders.
Yeah.
But I completely understand why it is still an assigned reading book in English classes. There are so many topics to discuss for kids to work through that I completely understand why it is still a go-to. Plus, again, it's like 180 pages, right? It's no Harry Potter, checking in at 491 pages.
Right.
So it's really manageable to read.
Yeah, it's definitely a good book to read for students because you can read it. There's a lot in it. And then when you're going back through it, it's easy to find what you're looking for. It's easy to write about. There's so many I'm going like this because everybody out there can see. There's just layers and layers and layers that you can catch, and it's fantastic. But I definitely would recommend anybody to read it. But as an adult, it wasn't my favorite book. Obviously, not as a kid either, because I don't really remember reading it. But it's definitely a to-read book.
Yeah. And can we just talk about, I know because you just mentioned the My Favorite Murderer podcast talked about the movie. That movie, like I all week long, I was like, I got to get through the book because I want to watch the movie. But I was like, I will not watch the movie before we do the podcast because I don't want to be unduly influenced by the heartthrobs that are in that movie. But so I went and I knew some of the names in it, but I forgot some of they had Matt Dillon, Rob Lowe, Ralph Macchio, C. Thomas Howell, Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise, Emilio Estevez, Diane Lane, and Leif Garrett was one of the Socs.
No.
What?
I mean, central casting hit a total bullseye.
Yes.
On that one.
And I don't know, haven't done this research, but to know how many of those guys were in things before. But I mean, almost all, I don't know, maybe, is C. Thomas Howell doing anything? I don't know what he's done recently. Sorry, C. Thomas, if you're listening to this.
He has done something because I Googled it.
Okay.
And I don't remember. They're all doing, well, not Patrick Swayze, sadly, but I mean, they're all doing something. Sorry. Too soon, even though it's too soon.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Did not stay gold.
But I had to look, actually, when I was reading it, I looked at the IMDb page to remember who was who, because the pictures in my head kept getting confused about who was what character.
Right.
But they all have done so many things.
Right. And most of them have either incredibly good genes or they have found the really good doctors in LA.
Yeah.
Because that movie came out in 1983 and there's a few of them that don't look, like Ralph Macchio, who's in the Cobra Kai. He doesn't look older than me for sure, and I know he's significantly older than I am.
He is, because when he filmed Karate Kid, he was like in his 20s.
Yeah.
And I was talking with my daughter about this. Let's look up how old he is. But I was saying, he was definitely older than his character. So he was born in 1961. So he is 59.
Yeah. And
so
doesn't look 50. I mean,
no.
He does not look anywhere close to 50, I don't think.
No.
Rob Lowe, I mean.
He looks great.
Tom Cruise, I mean.
Well, with the Scientology, I don't know. But yeah, no, but whatever, even it works. So,
right?
Yeah.
Or the Atkins diet. Isn't that what Rob Lowe is always hawking on TV?
Yeah.
And I love that Rob Lowe, I'm a big fan of Rob Lowe, who will be in anything and everything. Whether it's a Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial or a Murder of the Week mystery on Hallmark.
He is such a good sport.
Yes.
And I loved him in Parks and Rec. When he would be like, literally, this is the best moment of my life. Yeah.
Yes, Rob Lowe is my favorite of that whole group. Now, I think probably when I watched it, C. Thomas Howell was my favorite.
Yes, me too, but not anymore.
But for sure, Rob Lowe is.
But and Rob Lowe, we'll have to post this on Instagram. He posted a picture of himself yesterday, I believe, and it was filming The Outsiders, my 18th birthday. Today filming some show I don't know, and I can't remember what birthday it was.
Oh my gosh.
And he put side-by-side pictures of himself. So we'll have to find that.
We are so on trend.
I know. We really are.
Yeah. Oh, he's probably filming that 911 show, like Texas 911 or Austin 911. I watched a couple episodes of it because I always like to check out whatever Rob Lowe does. He hosted some crazy game show recently. He'll do anything.
He will. He's awesome.
He does not say no.
Okay, then we're going to have to invite him to the podcast.
What do you think he wants to read?
I don't know.
Flowers in the Attic?
Yeah. Oh, he'll love it. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I'll get in touch with his people this week.
Okay.
Okay,
let's do it.
All right. So, great. I loved it. Another fun one to remember and to read, and remember correctly this time, because I told my son how I remembered it, and he just gave me this look like, yeah, I think you're going to be in for a shock, because none of that actually occurred.
Wait, did you rewatch the movie yet?
No, not yet.
Maybe in the movie they romanticized it a little bit more.
Could be. Maybe that's where I got it from. So yeah, I plan to watch the movie this weekend. I think it's streaming on.
Okay, I'll watch it too.
So yeah, I'm going to watch it this weekend and see if it's as wonderful as I recall it being. And if not, then I'll just go back to watching Pretty in Pink or something like that.
Yeah.
It's one of my other faves.
That'll be good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us For this, our 6th podcast.
Yes, it is. We're on our way to 10. Here we come.
Here we come. If you have suggestions for books that we should read, let us know on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Email us at nothowirememberit@gmail.com.
Yes, and our book club needs to like our Instagram page.
Yeah.
Shout out to our book club.
Absolutely. And we'll see you next time when we read another classic from our childhoods.
Yes. All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Now that we know that S.C. Hinton wrote a book at 15 and published it at 18.
You can. Yeah.
Kids,
fan
get
fiction.
on it. Let's pay for your college with that book deal.